Dollar. Dirty money, no soul. Had to go and get it, ain't no time to kick it. Got a stack of flip for my foes. Dollar. Please tell me you can hear me. Don't turn your back and don't neglect me. Just let me know if you need me. Dollar. Let me watch out for my partners. Keep my money low, get my team strong. Let me run away from my problems.
Yo, what's good, original crew, man? We're back! Yeah! We're back, Jack. More Mr. Ballen. I swear I thought a horse.
You thought what?
Hey. We got 3 people taken by the forest creatures. Three people taken by forest creatures. What forest creatures you know of, see?
I mean, other than like creature. Other than like just regular like animals. What type of creatures he talking about?
It's a missing 411.
I know.
Ooh, what was that?
And it always be like some type of like, we always be going
people get mad.
The paranormal route.
People get mad because I don't go that route.
Because I'm like...
So today I'm going to go that route. I'm going to go that route with people. What was that? Is that Bigfoot? Or is that a skin? I'm going to go with people. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, we'll see. We'll see what... No.
No, you go my route.
I don't want to go the route.
Go my route.
Oh, what's your route?
Realistic. And I'm going to go with their route.
Oh, okay. Got it. Yeah, I could do that.
Hey, man. Make sure y'all check out the links in the description box.
It's down below.
You already know where to go. If you want to first support, you got to check out down below. Also, if you enjoyed today's visuals,
like it with a thumbs up.
I need some water, man. Throw a little scratchy. That's what we're doing right now. But let's go, man. Let's hop into it. Let's check it out. Let's see what's about. Let's see what kind of creatures we might encounter today. Ready?
Yes.
All right.
Every year, hundreds of people go missing inside of national parks and forests all over North America. Of those hundreds of missing people, there's always a few that are particularly strange, that there isn't a rational explanation for how they went missing or where they were discovered. One man named David Paulides, who's a former police detective, made it his mission to start investigating these strange disappearances. And after spending thousands of hours researching them, he saw that there were clusters of areas all over North America where lots of people were going missing under these strange circumstances, and no one was any bit closer to figuring out what happened to these people or why. David Paulides began compiling what he was finding about all these strange cases and putting them into a book series that he calls Missing 411. I went out and purchased all of them. There's like 9 books.
Damn.
Because I'm totally fascinated by the Missing 411 phenomenon, and I want to continue to read through all of the research that he's done and find some very interesting cases that I can share with you all on my YouTube channel. Today, I'm going to focus on 3 stories that all come out of Colorado, and in each story, it's as if someone or something literally picked these people up and moved them great distances to places that they would not have been able to access on their own. But before we get into today's Missing 411 stories, if you're a fan of Missing 411 or just everything strange, dark, and mysterious, then you've come to the right channel, because that's all I post about, and I upload 3, 4, even 5 times every week. So if that's of interest to you, I would encourage you to sneak into the like button's home and replace all of their family photos with pictures of Steve Buscemi. Also, please subscribe to my channel and turn on all notifications so you don't miss any of my weekly uploads. All right, let's get into today's stories. In 1981, Maurice Doc Demetz was an 84-year-old man living in Colorado. He was a lifelong minister, had a PhD in theology. He also had a blood condition, and he had arthritis in his knees that made it almost impossible for him to walk without assistance. He had always been really passionate about topaz hunting. He would go to these sites where you could dig into the ground and look for these rocks. When you broke them open, you could potentially find topaz. And he loved doing that. Because of his knees and because of his blood condition, he needed someone to go with him, to walk him around to the different dig sites, and to help him get back into the car and drive him back to his house. Doc had a friend named David McSherry. He wound up being the primary guy that would go with Doc anytime he went topaz hunting. On April 29th, 1981, Doc decides he wants to go topaz hunting. So he calls up David, and they load up David's car, and they head off to Pike National Forest, which was a spot they had gone many times before. And they had this one area that they used to love going in particular called Devil's Head. Locals in the area claimed that that spot was actually haunted by evil spirits. But to Doc and to David, there was no indication that they bought into any of that, and they went there all the time. When they got there on April 29th at 10 a.m., they got out, they went to their favorite dig sites. David actually walked Doc down this hill to this one little clearing. Doc had a backpack with him full of the tools he used to dig out the different rocks. After David had walked Doc to this spot, David walked back up the hill towards their car and went about 50 yards away from where Doc was to his dig site. And over the next several hours, the two would work independent of one another, just digging for topaz. Periodically, David would look over and he'd make sure that he could see Doc and make sure Doc was okay. At 3:45 in the afternoon, David decides, all right, it's probably time to get going soon. And he pokes his head up and he looks in the direction of where Doc was supposed to be, and Doc's not there. He had just seen him about 15 minutes earlier, so he's not concerned. He knows it's only been a few minutes, and frankly, Doc can't really go anywhere. He can barely walk. And so he just kind of stands up and maybe tries to get a better look, and he's thinking, okay, maybe Doc stood up and got behind a tree to relieve himself, or maybe he kind of is just out of sight, and he starts walking down to the area to just go find Doc. But Doc isn't there, and neither is his backpack with all of his tools. And David's sitting there thinking, I guess Doc must have packed up and headed back to the car. But then David's thinking to himself, in order to go from this dig site up to the car, it means walking up a fairly steep embankment. And there's no way that Doc would have been able to do that without assistance. And so he's looking around the area thinking, is there any sign of something bad happening here? There's no blood. There's no sign of any sort of altercation that would have happened here. David certainly didn't hear anything going on near him. He didn't hear an animal attack or anything like that. So he thinks, okay, somehow he must have got up to the car. David walks up the embankment all the way to the car. Doc's not up there. David goes in the car and he starts honking the horn and yelling out for Doc. No response. As he's honking the horn, 3 motorists come down the road. They see David honking the horn, and so they say, hey, what's going on? David tells them, hey, I got my 84-year-old friend. I don't know where he went. He can't have gone far. Can you guys help me look for him? But after David and these motorists spend a couple of hours looking in this area and there's no sign of him, they end up calling the authorities. The police show up, and over the next week, there is this extensive search in this whole area that includes bloodhounds and hundreds of people. But despite this massive effort, nothing is ever found of Doc. He just vanishes. And so Doc's wife writes a letter to the governor of Colorado and just says, he can't have done this on his own. He can't have walked away on his own. Someone or something lifted him up and took him away. There was no response to this letter, and ultimately Doc's case was shut down. They stopped looking for him and assumed he had died. But when David Paulides looked into this case and featured the Doc DeMetz case on his documentary, they actually reopened the case. But as of right now, there's no new additional details about the whereabouts of Doc DeMetz. To this day, we don't know what happened to him.
Do you think something just picked him up and carried him away? Or do you think
it's Colorado?
Do you think something or someone did something?
I don't know. It's Colorado. It's very wooded out there, Never know what creature might be out there.
But I feel like the only reason I'm like, dang, what could it have been? Because I feel like if it was like, say for instance, if an animal or a creature, whatever, come and like grab you, you're going to at least yell out. You know what I'm saying? Y'all was just right. Like you could see him. Y'all, not that far from each other. Where y'all could see each other. I can hear you. Hey, whatever. But nothing. You didn't hear nothing. You didn't see anything. You were that occupied for, 15 minutes that you didn't even see or hear anything. So what could it, you know what I'm saying? Like what could it possibly be? What you said, baby? I can't hear you.
No, I said aliens.
Oh.
Think possibly. But the other friend would have heard it though.
But I do wonder what like information or reason, like, for them to reopen it? Like, did they get to be like, you know? I want to look into it myself.
So you want me to like be on some real
I do want you to be real. Yeah.
All right. So questions I have. With the search, did they even pick up and sit?
That's what I'm saying. I have so many questions.
Did
the hounds pick up any scent? Did y'all see any clothing? Did y'all like rips and tears of anything?
Or did we have found any tracks?
Drag marks.
This is 1981, so investigating styles have severely changed. This generation, this time. So in 1981, I do understand that the way we search and look for things is not going to be the same, and they're not going to have the understanding like we have now, because things happen over time. You know what I'm saying? You learn from the past to do better in the future.
Right, true.
So, but also looking at so many body cam videos we've been recently doing. Mm-hmm. And if y'all don't know about the body cam videos, they're over there on the Extra Dose. We've been dropping body cam videos like daily.
Crazy.
So, hey, if y'all into the body cam footage, the police, and more of like true crime type things, go over there to the Extra Dose. Link is in the description box, right? Mm-hmm. But also looking at this, even stuff we don't react to, like the rescues joints, like the where they search ponds, lakes.
He was 75, not 84. Sorry.
He disappeared at 85?
No. I said he was 75, not 84.
Oh, why we get 84
Because he said 84.
I'm saying why?
I don't know, unless, it says April 29th, 1981, age 75. Unless this report has it wrong.
I don't know.
But regardless, he was older and he couldn't also, really walk.
Like we've been, because we done watched a lot recently. Like, not even just, even the videos we've been watching of people being discovered in in rivers and stuff, right? They've been trapped in cars and they ran out the road, and they was in the one was for 40 years ago, right? The old couple ran off into the lake. Mm-hmm. She ain't even she tuning me completely.
Yeah, they ran into the lake. Yeah, 40 years. I heard you.
So, just thinking about all that, did anyone else see Maurice up there besides David?
Yeah.
Because also body cam we watched today, mm-hmm. people can come up with stories, mm-hmm. and it just not be true. There's not truth behind the stories. The further you dig into it, people, they could have planned to go do this. You never know what might have occurred on the way there, or what issues David might have with him prior. We don't know. It's a lot of information we just are not privy to.
Yeah, true.
Could David have done something to him? Possibly. You can't rule out anything, especially when you don't have a body.
True.
So you can't just say, hey, a creature got him. Hey, paranormal activity. We can't even go by David, but we can't cross out anything as well. What you was going to say?
No, and for it to be called whatever it was called, I started to write it down, but then whatever it's called something, they call it, like the locals call it something. I'm wondering, like, does stuff happen up there often? Like, for it to, like, have this name of, you know what I'm saying? Like, is this like a place where things are happening often, and that's why?
Or think on this. The guy who just faked his death, could David have helped him fake his death? Or fake his disappearance? I need an alibi if I'm going to fake my death. I need somebody who say, hey, because you just don't vanish. You just don't go missing. And there's no clue,
but I'm
no body, no rip, like
if
no
he has
clothing,
so many like health
blood
issues and stuff and really can't get around like that, like what good would that do me? Like for real. To fake my death.
Or did I plan on taking my own stuff out? Okay. But I need the assistance with somebody else. You don't know.
I mean, I wasn't going that far, but yeah, you don't. I'm gonna have to read more on it myself, but yeah, you don't. Cause situations like this, when you don't like have nothing was ever found, nothing came about it. No, like you absolutely have nothing.
We don't have blood. We don't have a scuffle.
It really does.
We don't have
bother
tracks.
me.
We don't have clothing, tears of clothing. We don't have a scream wasn't heard. Nothing was heard. Yeah. Supposedly.
Yeah.
So this one was very like,
Yeah.
and I say this, it's 1981 with a lot of unknown information. Do I think the case will be solved without somebody coming up and speaking on something of? Because for those who don't know, like I spoke about this previously before. It's a guy from my hometown vanished 20 years ago.
Yeah, I think that's what
He
you
went.
said.
He went for a morning stroll with his dog 20 years ago. A little while later, dog came back. Nobody seen this man. He was supposed to have. He was an older gentleman. Supposedly had Alzheimer's. A lot of people in the town thought he wandered off into the woods. They searched the woods. Nothing. He was vanished. Nowhere to be seen. Until last year, his daughter gets a phone call and said, "Hey, his body is buried in this certain area." And everybody was like, "Huh?" And his body was buried behind some dumpsters. Nobody knew. They've been looking for this man this whole time. Didn't know nothing. Get a random call 20 years later. Said, "Hey, know where he's at. He's buried behind these dumpsters."
I'm still wondering who made the call. Like, who was the person? Like,
And the person wasn't even in the. But you just don't vanish. Something happens.
yeah.
Supposedly he was robbed and killed.
And 9 times out of 10, like I said before, when you had told me the story, I was like, I'm pretty sure y'all didn't get nothing for real. You know what I'm saying? Like, what was, like, y'all didn't have to take that man's life. And then buried him behind, buried him? That's a lot of work. That's a lot. You know what I'm saying?
Or also, did y'all bury him or did y'all throw him in a dumpster?
But they couldn't have threw him in a dumpster. If his body is still...
But they never recovered a body, supposedly. And those dumpsters are no longer there.
I thought you told me they dug up and got the body.
I talked to my mom more.
Anyway, but...
It was a dump site right there. And it's a possibility he was thrown... Because also I do know somebody who they did a crime, had the victim, and they threw the victim in a dumpster.
No, I know people throw people in dumpsters, but I'm just saying, I thought he was buried and they had got the body. But yeah.
And in that situation, luckily the woman wasn't deceased and she was able to get out the dumpster. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
And she was able to report the crime, but they thought they had killed the woman and threw her in the dumpster. But she wasn't deceased. And I personally know, crazy, right? But let's go. Jim.
In 2014, Jim McGrogan was a 39-year-old medical doctor who was living in Indiana with his wife and his 2 kids. He was widely regarded as a very loving husband and devoted father, and everybody seemed to just love this guy. Jim was in phenomenal shape. He had run marathons, triathlons. He loved being in the outdoors, hiking, rock climbing, snowshoeing, skiing. That was Jim's happy place. And so in early March 2014, Jim decides he wants to plan a trip with some friends to go hiking in Colorado. And so he begins planning out where they're going to go hiking, and he finds this amazing trail right opposite the very famous Vail ski resort. Even though Jim was very competent in the outdoors, he would take a survival class and an avalanche preparedness class before he left for Colorado, just to show his wife that he wasn't taking any chances, that he would be well prepared in case the worst were to happen on this trip. About 2 weeks later, he's in Colorado and he heads to a ski shop where he rents a split snowboard as well as loads up on all the supplies that you might need for being in the outdoors. Early the next day, Jim and his friends arrived at the trailhead. Jim, in his backpack, had his cell phone. He also had an extra cell phone battery. He had a great GPS. In addition, he had loads of food and water. He had his split snowboard. He has his avalanche beacon. He's got extra clothing. I mean, this guy is well outfitted for this trip. So they start on this hike, and by 10 a.m. that morning, the rest of the group is feeling tired and wants to take a break. Jim doesn't want to take a break. He's in amazing shape and he wants to keep going. So he says, "Hey guys, I'm going to walk just a little bit farther up and I'll meet you at our next planned stop." No one bats an eye because Jim is like this total stud. He knows what he's doing. And they're like, "All right, go ahead. We'll see you up there." Once the group is well rested, they stand back up and they keep walking. They get to that first stop and Jim's not there. They think, okay, we were sitting there for a little while. I'm sure he just went to the next planned stop, because they had planned stops all along the route. The trail they were on, because it had snowed significantly that winter and lots of people had been on this trail, the trail itself was totally packed down to the dirt. So it was very easy to identify this trail. Anywhere there wasn't trail was covered in snow. And so if you were walking this trail, it would be really easy to stay on it. Also, if you were to deviate from the trail and start walking away, it would be really obvious because people would see your footprints leaving the trail. But as Jim's friends are making their way up this trail and not seeing Jim at each of these subsequent stops, they don't see any footprints leaving the trail. So they just figure he must have gone all the way to the end. He's just way ahead of us. But by 5 p.m., when they made it all the way up to the top where they planned on stopping and turning around, Jim wasn't there, and they hadn't passed him on the way up, and they hadn't seen any footprints or any ski tracks or anything to indicate that someone had left the path. And so very worried about Jim, they called the authorities. Over the next 5 days, a massive search is launched in this area, including 3 helicopters that scoured an 18-mile square radius. They had scent sniffing dogs out there. They had all these very experienced mountaineers combing the area, but they couldn't find any sign of him. And again, because of all the snow outside of that trail they were on, the helicopter just searched up and down that trail looking for indications that someone had left the trail, looking for those footprints or ski tracks just off that trail they were on, and there weren't any. There was no sign that anyone had left the trail at any point. Yet Jim was gone. The authorities, friends, family, everybody's baffled, but they're thinking to themselves, Jim's a really competent outdoorsman. He has a working GPS. And they checked their cell phones. That whole area they were in, they had cell phone reception. So they're thinking to themselves, we don't know what's going on, but I'm sure he's going to turn up at some point. 20 days after Jim went missing, his body is discovered by 2 hikers 7 kilometers away from the trail he had been on when he went missing. He had died from significant head trauma as well as a broken femur. It looked like...
Head trauma, broken femur. That's in the leg, right?
Femur, yeah.
Top, just right.
Your big bone, yeah.
And head trauma.
He had fallen from a really great height, but it wasn't entirely clear where he had actually fallen from. He was found with just leggings and a shirt on, no jacket and no boots, and his boots were nowhere to be found.
What?
His backpack was next to him, and inside of it was his GPS that worked and his cell phone that worked. He even had an extra battery for his cell phone. Yet at no point had he tried to use his cell phone over the duration of the time he had been out there. He also had lots of food and water and additional clothing. He had a tent, but it looked like none of it had been touched since he packed it originally. And then strangest of all is there were no footprints or ski tracks leading up to either where he was or any of the surrounding areas. There were no tracks to show how he actually got where he got. It's as if he had been lifted off the trail 7 kilometers away and dropped where he was. When the exact location of where he was found was communicated back to the authorities, the helicopter pilots who had been involved in that initial 5-day search said that we looked at that area multiple times and he wasn't there. So at some point after those 5 days, Jim had found a way to land 7 kilometers away in this random place where there's no footprints that lead to it, no tracks, no anything. We know he had a working cell phone and a working GPS, and we know that he didn't make it to this spot where he ultimately was found in the first 5 days. So at a minimum, what was he doing in those first 5 days? Why wasn't he using his cell phone to communicate what was going on? Why wasn't he using his GPS to get back to safety? Why didn't he use the supplies in his backpack to save his life? Why did he take his boots off? And then how did he wind up in the location he was in? Because there was no tracks that would have led to that spot.
His is strange, but
So he's missing his jacket, missing his boots.
nowhere to be found. The clothing, those jacket and boots. Had his cell phone the entire time. Had his GPS. Never attempted to use it from the looks of it.
Is it a possibility he couldn't use it because he's not capable? Because he's not conscious?
What is that? He. What was the injuries? I know the femur. Do you remember head trauma?
Head trauma.
That's possibly maybe from the head trauma, not being able to like fully be like,
Also, I doubt he fell. It doesn't sound like he possibly failed because you would have saw some type of tumble march, some type of like. In the also the biggest question I have about pertaining to this one was it actively snowing.
I thought about that too because I was thinking about that too, but I was like, from the sounds of it, no, but it could be though.
You
It
don't know that
literally could be. I'm
information.
like, things do. If it's actively snowing, then the tracks are getting covered.
Yeah,
with the falling snow.
Because David Paulides is not going to know that information because he wasn't there. And no matter research information, nobody's going to, that's not a detail. Most people will be like, oh, if I report on the story, let people know it's actively snowing that day, you know? It'll just say no foot, but if it's snowing and if it's at a high rate that it's snowing, the tracks could have been recovered, right? Mm-hmm. So that part we don't know, that information. But also, my biggest thing, if you go in a group, always be in a group. Never separate. Yeah. Especially separate until there's only one person by themselves. Never, if we're in a group, one person should never go by themselves. Mm-hmm. I mean, absolutely never. But a broken femur, that does sound like a fall, right? Broken femur, head concussion. Or also could have been foul play involved. Because he's missing his boots, unless his boots and jacket came off as he was tumbling. But that means they wasn't laced up tight enough. And his jacket wasn't zipped. Mm-hmm. That's the only way I feel like the boots would come off if they wasn't superly laced. Other than that, I do have.
And then y'all said the area that y'all found him in
was the area that y'all
already had searched, and he wasn't there prior, but now he winds up there. Yeah, that's strange to me, but
I am thinking foul play could be involved, and the person took the boots and the jacket. Mm-hmm. Don't know the exact area he was in. Don't know like the living areas. I like Colorado is one of them states. I don't know too much as far as like how the living, like do people stay in the cabins and do you know what I'm saying? He could have fell and actually broke his leg. Somebody could have found him. Like he could have got hurt and actually broke his leg. Somebody could have found him and act like they were gonna fake a system, and you know that's what he been at this whole time, and you never know. Mm-hmm. That's me looking too deep into it.
I'm about to say you watch a lot of TV.
Yeah,
but no, stuff like that. I mean, stuff like that can happen.
But also, that's what I'm about to say. Where you think they get those ideas from?
Why you keep talking on me? But yeah.
I ain't talking on you. I'm just saying where do you think they get them ideas from? From things that actually happen.
Yeah.
Nobody just come up with weird, bizarre things. Most of the time, come up with a movie because something similar has happened.
Every situation, yeah, I do agree. But every situation.
But this one do sound like foul play though, or accidental. But he just doesn't drop random in the area if he wasn't already, you know what I'm saying, discovered in the area, and that's possibly another reason why I'm looking at it as an accident. If I got a broken femur and I got a head concussion, I'm knocked out. Like head trauma, I'm knocked out. No, I can't use my phone. Mm-hmm. So,
what was the actual, like, I know the broken femur and the head trauma, was that considered the cause of, like...
They just said that's how he was discovered. It wasn't...
The
cause of death could have been the head trauma.
All right, let's go. We can move on.
That was a little deep. Yeah. That is one you should... Because it's 2014, so more recently.
I'm going to look more into it.
Yeah. You ain't, but yeah.
I am.
In 1958, Bobby Bizup was a 10-year-old living in Colorado. He was almost completely deaf, so he wore a hearing aid, and he came from a family that was devoutly Catholic. That summer, Bobby's family decided to send him to a Catholic camp for boys. It was located at the St. Malo Church inside of Rocky Mountain National Park. The camp itself was situated at the base of Mount Meeker. Anytime the boys were up the mountain, which was pretty steep, they could always look down and see this camp. In addition, there was this stream that fed right by the camp. So if they could just get to the stream anytime they were up in the mountain, they could follow it all the way down and get back to the camp. This was something that they told all of the boys in case they got lost up in the mountain. On August 15th, around 6 p.m., Bobby was a little ways up from the camp fishing along that river. And one of the camp counselors was making his way up to try to get all the boys to come back down for dinner. This camp counselor would say that he clearly saw Bobby recognize that it was time to come back down, it was time for dinner. He clearly saw Bobby turn and start walking down towards the camp. At which point the counselor turned his back on Bobby and he too began walking down towards the camp, which was not very far away. When the counselor got to the camp and turned back around though, Bobby was gone. And so the counselor starts immediately tracing his steps back to try to find Bobby, but he can't find him anywhere. The counselor goes and gets a number of the other counselors to come help him find Bobby. After about 30 minutes, no sign of Bobby. He's just gone. The camp counselors are looking around thinking, how is this possible? He was literally right there. He started walking. He was right behind me. How could he have gotten lost in such a short amount of time and in an area where he could literally see the camp and was actually on the river that leads right back to the camp? It didn't make any sense. The counselors alerted authorities and this massive search is launched to find Bobby. Over 300 people come out, including people from the military. It's this huge search and nothing is found of this boy. He's completely gone. 10 days after he went missing, they had to call off the search because there was absolutely no sign of this child. Even after the search ended, many of the camp counselors continued to, in their off time, scour the area around the camp to look for Bobby. And a year later, 3 camp counselors would actually find him. 3 camp counselors decided to go to a very hard to access area that had been searched previously, but they felt like it was the one spot that needed a little bit more attention. And it was 5 kilometers west of the camp and almost 800 yards up a fairly steep incline. This is a hard to access area, but they climbed their way up there, and sure enough, even though this area had been searched before, they found Bobby's hearing aid, bits of his clothing, and some of his bones. They didn't find any more of his remains, and no one knows what actually happened to him. But it really makes you wonder, what happened after the camp counselor turned his back on Bobby? It's as if someone scooped him up and flew him away. And even if he had intentionally run away, it would have been very difficult for a 10-year-old to get to that particular location where he was found. And to what end? Why would he have wanted to get up there? And so, like many of the other missing 411 cases, we are left with a series of questions and very few answers. So I'd love to get your theories as to what's causing these strange disappearances, and I'll do my best to get back to as many people as I can. So if you enjoyed today's stories, I would encourage you, if you have not already.
What you thinking?
So you told him it was time to come back to camp. You see him. Y'all like have eyes on each other. Y'all can see each other. You turn around, walk back. He's behind you because you see him coming, whatever. And then what you never, like, you know, sometimes, like, especially since it's a child, I'm on a periodic, or I would have just waited for him to come down, right? Because he's a child still. If he's the only one left that's by him, you know, he's by himself, I'm going to wait for him to come and we'll walk back to camp together. Or if that was the case, I'd be periodically turning around looking for him, but just me being me. And also, I don't know if the counselor was a man or a woman or not, but also just me being me. I'm going to wait for a child to just come and we could just walk back together. Just to be on the safe side. You know what I'm saying? How did he get what? They said 5 kilometers up, like somewhere where he's like, it's hard to get to in a sense, especially for a child. How did you get there? Did something come and swoop you up, or did someone take you there? You know what I'm saying? I'm trying not to be so like,
yeah.
But did something happen?
I was like, could an eagle come snatch him up?
I'm going to yell, huh?
Death. So if anything happens to him, I don't know like at what level he's on, but some people can't yell.
He's deaf, not mute, right? I know he can't yell per se, but how far were y'all from each other that like you hear nothing? You I just don't believe that.
But
I just don't believe that there was like no type of indication of nothing. Like you at least hear like something, even if
But say for instance,
I understand
say for
he.
instance,
I understand he
call-
did. I
he's
understand he
10.
did. I understand that.
10-year-olds come in different sizes.
I
right?
did forget that for a second, but yeah, yeah.
10-year-olds come in different sizes, right? Some people have growth spurts, some people don't.
Mm-hmm.
If you a smaller 10-year-old, right?
Mm-hmm.
I come, hand on neck, grab you up, easy. That's an easy scoop and go, right?
Mm-hmm.
Even if a bird came and scooped him up, because that's the reason why I'm like, how small? Well, he's not that small, so it could have been somebody. He's not that small not that small for a bird or anything. Because I'm like, if he's smaller and frail, then a bird could came snatch him and he gone. And birds be a little strong.
Mm-hmm.
But
no, I did for a second. I did forget that he was. But anyway.
No matter.
But still, my point still stands as far as like why you didn't wait on him.
Any animal could have snatched him.
Yeah, any animal
could
have.
He wouldn't been able to.
Yeah, you probably wouldn't have like heard anything or whatever, seen anything, especially if you were ahead of him. You know what I'm saying?
And how far of a distance were you ahead of him?
I would like to know that
because this says it's very steep up, and why he's up there by his damn self. That's to me. That's big neglect on you as the counselor, right? He's up too high, and me going to camp, right, and me understanding how camping and working with kids, right.
Mm-hmm.
You never let kids out of your sight.
True.
Like I've worked with hella kids. You never let kids out your sight. Now it's hard when you got a group of kids, right? Mm-hmm. It's hard. I've had to watch 60 little badass kids, just a little bit younger than him, by myself. So I know it's hard.
Mm.
What?
I don't know. I can't. I don't want to put that information out there because I don't know who wrote this.
Just say it. Just say it. So we can...
It just says that some of his remains were found in 1959. His skull was found in the possession of a Colorado family in 2021.
David Pilates, why that ain't in your book? Because you would have got that research too, right?
But again, like I said, I don't know if that's. I have to look more into it. Like it's just, I'm trying to just quickly read.
I ain't gonna say what I was gonna say because a couple people did comment on the Missing 411 videos before, mm-hmm. and I just looked into what they commented on, mm-hmm. and other people have done research, right? And they have mentioned that certain information do be left out of the Missing 411s, and I'm like, why are we leaving certain information out? You get what I'm saying?
Also, this was in 2021. Anyway, I'm going to just read it. It says, decades after Bobby died, our sister station in Denver found evidence of a possible cover-up after the 3 camp counselors went on a...
essay.
Went on to essay other children. Because me personally, and I was trying not to go there, but something in me was like, it does not sound right. That just didn't make sense to me. That I seen him, he was coming. I seen him, he was coming, and so I turned around and went on back and da. No.
If they did find the skull, what was it? How was the skull condition?
Yeah, I'm definitely.
Was it a hole in the skull?
And that article that I just read,
been blunt force trauma to the head.
Yeah, and that I just read was from May 27, 2021.
And just because they say they previously checked the area doesn't mean they thoroughly checked the area. Mm-hmm. Sometimes, because you remember I was watching something, and they were like, the reason why sometimes they searching to get with multiple people is because I might search, mm-hmm. the person trailing behind me might search the same area and pick up on something I don't see. Yeah. That's why you always need searching. You always need multiple eyes, just because one person might see what you miss. We might not both see the same thing. We could be in the same area and not see the same thing. Sometimes I miss something. I lose something. And I'm looking for C comes to help me and be like, and I'll be like, C, I looked at. She was like, well, you ain't look good enough. No, I look good, but you seeing certain things I don't see. But we can be looking at in the same area for the same thing. She'll just see something. And I'm like, damn. And I'll be like, damn, bro, what the fuck with my eyes, bro? She got glasses. I don't.
I don't even have I don't even. Ow, I'm still sore. I don't be having my glasses on half of the time
I'm just playing.
And you joke a little too much about these glasses.
It's just a joke.
I can see a little bit.
It was all a dream.
Yeah, nighttime a different thing, but I can see.
But hey, man, y'all spend most.
But for real, I'm about to look into this because I just read something else. I'm definitely going to look into all three. But that last one really, really got me for real. But yeah.
Y'all spam us up in the comments, man. Let us know y'all thoughts and opinions about it in the comment section down below. But until next time, y'all know how it go, man. I do go by the name DJ New Kid. This is
Sierra Nicole.
We are.
Kid and C.
We out.
Peace.
Time to kick it, got a stack of flip for my foes. Dollar. Please tell me you can hear me. Don't turn your back and don't neglect me. Just let me know if you need me. Dollar.